It was a hectic Friday night in July 2025 at Bella Vita, a popular Italian restaurant in the heart of Chicago's Little Italy. The place was packed with families, couples, and business types, all drawn by the promise of authentic pasta and a cozy atmosphere. Among the waitstaff was 24-year-old Mia Carter, a single mother who'd been working at Bella Vita for 2 years to support her young daughter. Mia was known for her quick smile and knack for handling difficult customers, but tonight, her patience was wearing thin. At table 12 sat Vanessa Moretti, a sharply dressed woman in her late 40s, her designer handbag resting on the chair beside her. Vanessa was a regular at Bella Vita, though she rarely spoke to the staff beyond barking orders. Her presence always carried an air of authority, and the restaurant's owner, Tony Russo, made a point to check on her personally whenever she dined. Mia didn't know much about Vanessa, only that she tipped poorly and treated the waitstaff like they were beneath her. Tonight, Vanessa was in rare form, her complaints louder and more cutting than usual. Mia approached the table with a practiced smile, balancing a tray of drinks. "Here's your sparkling water, ma'am," she said, setting the glass down carefully. "Can I get you anything else before your entrees arrive?" Vanessa barely looked up from her phone. "This took long enough," she snapped. "Do you people even know how to do your jobs? And this glass is dirty. Get me another one. Now." Mia glanced at the glass, which was spotless, but nodded. "Of course, I'll bring a new one right away." She turned to head back to the kitchen, but Vanessa's voice stopped her. "And make it quick," Vanessa added, her tone dripping with disdain. "I don't have all night to wait for incompetent service." Mia bit her lip, forcing herself to stay calm. She'd dealt with rude customers before, but Vanessa's words stung, especially after a long shift. She returned with a fresh glass, setting it down with polite, "Here you go, ma'am." Vanessa didn't acknowledge her, instead turning to her dining companion, a younger woman who seemed equally unimpressed. "This place is going downhill," Vanessa said loudly, ensuring Mia could hear. "The staff here are useless. No wonder they're stuck waiting tables." The comment hit Mia like a slap. She was proud of her work, even if it wasn't glamorous. She worked hard to provide for her daughter, and she didn't deserve this. Still, she kept her composure, walking away to tend to other tables. But Vanessa wasn't done. Over the next half hour, she sent back her salad for being too cold, complained that her wine was tasteless, and snapped her fingers at Mia whenever she needed something, each gesture more demeaning than the last. By the time Vanessa's entree arrived, a plate of linguine with clams, she was in full tirade mode. "This is overcooked," she declared, pushing the plate away after one bite. "Do you even have a chef back there, or is this some kind of joke? I want to speak to Tony. Right now." Mia's patience snapped. She'd been on her feet for 8 hours. Her daughter was waiting at home with a babysitter, and she was tired of being treated like dirt. Without thinking, she grabbed a pitcher of water from the table and poured it over Vanessa's head. The restaurant went silent, every eye turning to table 12. Vanessa gasped, her perfectly styled hair now dripping, her silk blouse clinging to her shoulders. "You little—" Vanessa started, but Mia cut her off. "You don't get to treat people like this," Mia said, her voice shaking but firm. "I'm done with your insults. If you don't like the service, eat somewhere else." The restaurant manager, Tony, rushed over, his face pale. "Mia, what are you doing?" he hissed, grabbing her arm. "Apologize to Mrs. Moretti right now." Vanessa stood, wiping water from her face, her eyes blazing. "You're finished," she said to Mia, her voice low and dangerous. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Mia, still trembling with adrenaline, didn't back down. "I don't care who you are," she said. "Nobody talks to me like that." Tony pulled Mia toward the kitchen, his voice urgent. "Go to the back. Now, I'll handle this." As Mia walked away, she noticed a man at a corner table, his dark suit impeccable, his eyes locked on her. He hadn't been there earlier, and something about his gaze made her stomach twist. She didn't know it then, but that man was Lorenzo Moretti, Vanessa's husband and the head of one of Chicago's most powerful organized crime families. In the kitchen, Tony was frantic. "Do you know who that was?" he said, his voice low. "That's Vanessa Moretti. Her husband runs half the city." You just poured water on the wife of Lorenzo Moretti. Mia's heart sank. She'd heard whispers about the Moretti family, about their influence in Chicago's underbelly, but she'd never connected Vanessa to them. I didn't know, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She was just awful. Awful or not, you don't mess with the Morettis, Tony said. You need to leave. Now, I'll try to smooth things over, but you can't be here when she comes back. Mia nodded, her mind racing. She grabbed her purse and slipped out the back door, her hands shaking as she called her neighbor to check on her daughter. The night air was cool, but she felt exposed, like eyes were watching her. She didn't know that Lorenzo Moretti had already made a call, his voice calm but firm, instructing one of his men to keep tabs on a waitress who dared to disrespect his wife. Over the next few days, Mia tried to go back to her routine, but the incident hung over her like a dark cloud. Tony called to tell her she was suspended pending a review, and rumors about what she'd done spread to the restaurant staff. Some thought she was brave, others thought she was reckless. Mia didn't care about their opinions. She was worried about her job, her bills, her daughter's future. She started looking for other work, but every interview felt like a dead end. Meanwhile, Vanessa Moretti wasn't letting the incident go. She was humiliated, not just by the water, but by the public nature of it. She'd been disrespected in front of her social circle, and that wasn't something she could ignore. At their sprawling mansion on the outskirts of Chicago, she spoke to Lorenzo, her voice sharp with anger. "That girl needs to learn a lesson," she said. "Nobody humiliates me like that." Lorenzo, a man of few words, listened quietly. He was 52, with a reputation for being both ruthless and calculating. He'd built his empire through careful alliances and swift retribution, but he also valued loyalty and respect. He'd been at Bella Vita that night, watching from the shadows, not to dine but to observe a business associate. Mia's outburst had caught his attention, not just because it targeted his wife, but because of the fire behind it. He'd seen plenty of people cower under pressure, but this young waitress hadn't. That intrigued him. "Leave it to me," Lorenzo told Vanessa, his tone calm but final. She nodded, trusting her husband to handle things, as he always did. Lorenzo's first move was to learn more about Mia. He had one of his men, a discreet operative named Frankie, dig into her background. Frankie reported back within 48 hours. Mia Carter, 24, single mother, no criminal record, no connections to any rival families. She lived in a modest apartment, worked double shifts to make ends meet, and had a 5-year-old daughter named Lily. Lorenzo filed the information away, his mind working through possibilities. He didn't want to destroy Mia. Not yet. He wanted to understand her. A week after the incident, Mia was walking home from the grocery store when a black sedan pulled up beside her. Her heart raced as a window rolled down, revealing a man in a suit, Frankie. "Get in," he said, his tone neutral. "Mr. Moretti wants to talk." Mia froze, her instinct screaming to run, but she thought of Lily. She couldn't afford to make enemies, especially not with someone like Lorenzo Moretti. She got in, her hands gripping her grocery bags tightly. The car drove to a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town, where Lorenzo was waiting at a corner booth, his presence commanding despite his casual demeanor. "Miss Carter," Lorenzo said as she sat down, his voice smooth but firm. "You made quite an impression at Bella Vita." Mia swallowed hard, her mouth dry. "I didn't know who she was," she said. "I'm sorry for what I did. I lost my temper." Lorenzo studied her, his eyes sharp but not unkind. "My wife can be difficult," he said, "but disrespecting her comes with consequences. You understand that, don't you?" Mia nodded, her heart pounding. "I do. I just want to keep my job, take care of my daughter. I don't want trouble." Lorenzo leaned back, his fingers tapping the table. "Trouble's already here," he said. "But I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to offer you a choice. You've got fire, Mia. I respect that. Most people would have backed down, but you didn't. That tells me you're not afraid to stand up for yourself." Mia frowned, unsure where this was going. "What kind of choice?" she asked. "I need people who aren't afraid," Lorenzo said. "People who can handle pressure. You could work for me, not waiting tables, but something more substantial. Or you can walk away, go back to your life, and we forget this ever happened. But my wife won't forget, and she has a long memory. Mia's mind raced. Working for Lorenzo Moretti meant stepping into a world she'd only heard about in whispers, a world of danger, power, and secrets. But refusing him could mean risking her safety, her daughter's safety. What would I be doing? She asked cautiously. Listening, watching, reporting, Lorenzo said, "You're invisible to most people, Mia. That's a strength. You see things others don't. You be my eyes in places I can't go." Mia hesitated, her thoughts on Lily. "I have a daughter," she said. "I can't put her in danger." "I protect my people," Lorenzo said. "Your daughter would be safe. You have my word." The word of a Mafia boss wasn't exactly comforting, but Mia felt the weight of his offer. She thought of her dwindling savings, the rent due next week. The way Vanessa's insults had cut deeper than they should have. "I need time to think," she said. Lorenzo nodded. "You have 24 hours. Frankie will find you." The next day, Mia wrestled with a decision. She called her mother, who lived an hour away, and talked vaguely about a job offer without mentioning the Morettis. Her mother urged her to be careful, to prioritize Lily. Mia spent the night awake, weighing her options. Refusing Lorenzo could mean repercussions, not just from Vanessa, but from the network of influence he controlled. Accepting meant crossing a line she'd never imagined crossing. In the end, Mia met Frankie at the same coffee shop and gave her answer. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. "But my daughter stays out of it. Completely." Lorenzo, who was there again, nodded. "Agreed. You start tomorrow." Mia's new role was vague at first, attending events, blending into crowds, passing along snippets of conversation she overheard. She was good at it, her years as a waitress making her adept at reading people, noticing details others missed. She reported to Frankie, who relayed her information to Lorenzo. The work paid better than Bella Vita ever could, enough to move Lily to a better school, to start saving for the future. But Mia never forgot who she was working for. Every meeting with Frankie, every glance from Lorenzo, reminded her of the line she crossed. Vanessa, meanwhile, seemed unaware of Mia's new role, though she stopped dining at Bella Vita. The restaurant staff whispered about the incident, turning Mia into a quiet legend among them, the waitress who stood up to Moretti and lived to tell the tale. Months later, Mia overheard something that changed everything, a conversation at a private party about a rival family planning to move against Lorenzo. She reported it, and Lorenzo acted swiftly, neutralizing the threat before it materialized. He called her to his office afterward, a rare meeting. "You did good," he said, sliding an envelope of cash across the table. "You're not just a waitress anymore, Mia. You're family now." Mia didn't want to be family, not in that world. But she took the money, knowing it was for Lily. She'd started this to survive, but now she was in deep, tied to a man whose power both protected and endangered her. The water she poured on Vanessa had been a moment of defiance, but it had also been the spark that lit a path she couldn't unwalk. The story of that night at Bella Vita spread, not just among the staff, but in hushed tones across Chicago's underworld. Mia Carter, the waitress who'd stood up to Vanessa Moretti, became a name whispered with a mix of awe and caution. And Lorenzo Moretti, watching from the shadows, knew he'd found someone worth keeping close, not just for her courage, but for the strength she didn't even know she had.